Make your dreams a reality. MadeANewHomeRemodeling.com. Dr. Lyle M. Back. For everything from skincare to cosmetic surgery, go to ILoveLyleBack.com. Comfort Now by Bob McAllister. Improve the comfort in your home. Call 609-400-1005 and ask about discounts, rebates, and incentives. Online at IWantComfortNow.com. Filling Marble and Tile Outlet, Philadelphia Avenue and Route 30 in Egg Harbor City. FillingMarble.com. Maurice Piers. For tickets and passes, visit MauricePiers.com. East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows serves all of South Jersey. If you call, they'll show up. Call East Coast today at 609-646-1444. Online at eastcoastroofing.com. Thank you for supporting your local businesses from Town Square Media, South Jersey.
A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
He is hit! He stumbles! He's down!
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Home run derby, well, nobody predicted that outcome. And if anybody says that they did, they're full of horsemen. Josh Hennig hanging out with you in the Matt Black Kia Studios here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. The MLB All-Star Game is tonight. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. We'll get into some thoughts on the home run derby from last night. Also, we're going to talk some hockey and the Flyers because the NHL offseason is pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered. You know, usually when it comes to an offseason, baseball takes about like 5 months, it seems like. The NFL offseason is a riding of a set of waves from March through June. And then the NBA offseason feels like it takes 2 months for them to figure everything out. But hockey basically did it in a week. So we'll get some more details about the state of the NHL after everything happened seemingly in about 72 hours with Scott Laughlin from SiriusXM NHL Radio, his perspective on the Flyers, the NHL offseason, and more. As always, you can join the conversation at 609-403-0973 on the text board. You can DM the show to the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. And I got to tell you guys, I think last night, the Major League Baseball Home Run Derby proved why it is the premier non-sports game event on the sports calendar. There was a time in my youth that was the slam dunk competition. Okay. You had guys, originally it was Jordan in the late 80s and then Dominique out there. And, even when it was some lesser guys like D Brown, you got still interested. And then Vince Carter came along in 2000. There was a time that the slam dunk was like the thing. And at the time in the late 80s, you had guys like Wally Joyner and Ruben Sierra. Look, as a kid, I thought Ruben Sierra was the definition of cool, right? But he was not a big-time star. The home run derby really didn't find its the legs until the mid-90s when Griffey won 3 in a row. You had McGuire in the home run chase. He was in the home run derby. Sosa in Atlanta hitting those bombs to dead center field over 500 feet. So it was like the home run derby kind of found its footing around the time the slam dunk competition lost its relevancy. And the NBA over the years has tried to rebrand, reformulate, and it wasn't just the slam dunk competition and the 3-point shooting competition. It was the other competitions as well. The NHL has tried to revitalize their skills competition, as they call it. The NFL's Pro Bowl has their sorry excuse, I'll call it, for a skills competition. The NFL competition used to be cool too. When I was younger, it was guys like Deion Sanders and Darryl Green racing in the 40-yard dash, right? And You would have quarterbacks see how far they could throw the ball. Kickers see how far they could kick and punt. Used to be like, and now it's like, you got wide receiver throwing passes and an accuracy competition. It's just not the same. So baseball has really found a way to take their home run competition, their home run derby, and make it the premier event of any non-game on the calendar. And I think that is incredible because for a sport in baseball that probably has the least viewership of the big time sports, right? I think between baseball and hockey, they're probably the two sports that have taken the biggest hits in recent years. We're in a situation where baseball might have found something. Mike Gill earlier today, and we'll dig deeper into this as the week goes along, talked about the 50 most watched things on TV in the first half of this year are all sporting events. People are watching sports more than anything else on television. And you go through the top 50 most watched things this year. Okay? You're talking about the Masters, the NCAA tournament, the Olympics, the NBA finals, numerous NFL games, the Super Bowl, college football bowl games, the college football playoffs, right? These are all things, the 50 most watched things in 2022. None of it is baseball. So baseball is already coming from a position of disadvantage, right? And now you're turning around and you're taking an event like last night, and it's exploding all over social media. The tweeters, the Instagrammers, the TikTokers, they're all over, right? And you got some of the biggest names in the game. You got Albert Pujols, the legend himself, getting to the second round. Kyle Schwarber, the leader in the National League in home runs. Julio Rodriguez, one of the young stars of the game. Juan Soto, one of the up-and-coming superstars in the game. You have all these guys out there, right? And you're having the interviews in between the at-bats. You're getting the intimate access on the field. Visually, for the person at home, nothing compares to the home run derby. The dunk competition is the biggest joke in sports. The NHL skills competition only has relevance because it was on ESPN this year, and they did a really good job at making it fun and entertaining. Otherwise, the skills competition doesn't really have a lot of juice unless you like hockey. And then you have the Pro Bowl, which is a joke, right? We all know the Pro Bowl is a joke. We watch the Pro Bowl because we're desperate for football, not because we love the Pro Bowl, okay? Look, we learned one thing this year. People love football, okay? It's to the point where the NFL is the top 14 most watched things on earth right now. And college football was 15th for the national championship. So, but baseball might have found something last night. Now, whether they parlay it into anything, we'll find out. Because today, Rob Manfred basically ripped the A's from here to Kingdom Come for their stadium situation. He ripped the city. He ripped the organization, which they should be ripped. Let's be realistic. The Oakland A's have become an embarrassment of a franchise. Billy Beane, I think that his system of, build up, tear down is becoming exasperating. And the city has lost all of its real support for sports in general. Remember, the Golden State Warriors were in Oakland. They moved to San Francisco. The Raiders couldn't get a stadium in Oakland. They moved to Vegas. Oakland better not lose the A's. They're going to have nothing. Nothing. The closest thing Oakland even has to hockey is San Jose. That's how little Oakland is of a sports city at this point. So, you have the situation going on in Oakland. The All-Star game tonight is probably not going to have a massive number for a variety of reasons. It'll have a good number because not much on television tonight, but I don't think it's going to be some massive viewership number. So how does baseball parlay what they had on Monday night, which was this home run derby that had tons of people watching and talking about it, and the controversy with the Schwarber and the Juan Soto home run counts? How do you parlay all of that attention into people paying attention to your sport through the rest of the summer? Because guess what? Even right here, we're talking football. The Bills and the Raiders rookies reported to camp yesterday. More rookies are reporting to camp today and tomorrow. Football is king. You, the listener, with your viewership habits, have told the world that what do you care about most? It's the NFL and it's college football. And after those two, you know what you care about? You care about the NCAA tournament. You care about college bowl games. You care about the Kentucky Derby for 2 minutes, basically. That short race period that it's on. And you're interested in me watching the reruns of the Olympics 7-8 hours after it happened. So how does baseball break into that conversation? I don't have the right answer personally, because I think baseball has done a very poor job of promoting their stars. Okay. I personally think that baseball, the key to them promoting their sport is to realistically find a way to better promote their stars. That's me. Okay. I remember a time when I was younger, you would drive down the road, you see a billboard, you see a commercial. Everything was about the stars of the game. Now it's about, when you see a commercial for a baseball game, it's about the stadium. It's about the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry. It's about, the nostalgia of the game. And it's not as much about the stars in the game. And I think that's where baseball can take the home run derby and say, okay, these were all the guys in the derby. Now we're going to promote them to no end because we know people were watching them last night. Now, over on the text board at 609-403-0973, we do have, your detractors, right? You do have your negative Nancy's, okay? Because the texter who didn't leave their names, I'll just call them anonymous. Anonymous says, I don't like the home run derby because people are conserving energy, just trying to hit a lot of homers instead of hitting real home run derby bombs, quote unquote, as texter says. Texter says the furthest home run last night was 475 feet, which is an absolute joke for a home run derby. I miss the days when each batter got 10 pitches, take a bunch of pitches, and then just unload the ball. Every player would hit nearly 500 feet. Well, a couple things. First of all, part of what you're describing was the steroid era or the home run era with guys like McGuire and Sosa and Bonds. That's part of the reason why they were hitting some of those balls ridiculously far. You say the farthest home run last night was 479. 479 is still really far. You're acting like that's nothing. That's just 21 feet shorter than 500. Okay. I think that your context here is a little off. Now, look, if you don't like the current format with the timing, instead of the, 10 outs, it wasn't 10 pitches, by the way, it was 10 outs. You got 10 outs. You either hit a home run or you got an out. Okay. Maybe you don't like the current format. That's fine. But I don't think the format was responsible for the homers. I think you're describing an era of baseball with guys like Manny Ramirez who were found to be juicing. I think that was a big part of those home runs. Okay, if the only thing you're looking for is 500 bombs, then I think you're not really, I don't know, maybe you're not a real baseball fan, okay? Maybe you don't value, seeing guys just hit home runs. To me, I come at sports from this perspective. My perspective on sports has always been the hardest thing to do on planet Earth is hit a home run. Okay? I think that hitting a baseball is one of the hardest things to do on earth, and hitting a home run is the hardest thing to do for any hitter. And for, Rodriguez last night to have 2 straight rounds of over 30 bombs, I think is incredible. Now, I understand maybe for you that you only care about 500-foot home runs, Mr. Anonymous on the text board. And as you say, that's all you care about, and you also follow up and say that we see home runs every day from April to October. It doesn't make seeing the home run any less relevant. I've said numerous times, if you're a 300 hitter in baseball, you're reaching the Hall of Fame, not just because it's hard to do, but because it's the hardest thing to do. To be a consistent hitter in baseball is insane. Albert Pujols is one of the greatest hitters of all time because of part of what you saw last night. The dude's 42 years old and found a way to hit 7 bombs, 7 homers in a matter of a minute. For a 42-year-old, that's incredible to me. So, listen, maybe I'm just enamored with hitting. Maybe I'm just envious and jealous of the fact that I was never a good hitter, and all these guys could do something that I can't. I revel in seeing their greatness and their excellence. Maybe I'm in a minority. And I'm sorry, Mr. Anonymous Texture, that guys hitting home runs is not impressive enough for you, and you would rather see 500-foot home run instead of 479 feet. I'm sorry. Josh Hennig here on Game Night 973 ESPN FM 973 ESPN Mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City. We're going to transition over to hockey. Did you know the hockey offseason was already over? Well, apparently it is, because GMs left and right are waving the white flag on the NHL offseason. They're saying business is closed, and we haven't even had the Eagles report the training camp yet. We'll ask why that is to Scott Laughlin from SiriusXM NHL Radio next here on Game Night with me, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN.
Today on ESPN Radio.
Another great play from Aaron Judge. What a play! Mookie Betts, Mike Trout, Ronald Acuna, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Manny Machado, Paul Goldschmidt, Shohei Ohtani.
The 2022 Major League Baseball All-Star Game from Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. Coverage begins today at 7 Eastern. Listen to Major League Baseball on 97.3 ESPN.
We're Town Square Media, and along with the awesome radio station you're listening to right now, we're publishers of best-in-class national entertainment brands like Taste of Country, Pop Crush, and more. And when combined with our local brands, we can reach over 70% of consumers in our community. At Town Square, all this digital clout puts us in a unique position to help local businesses grow with powerful marketing solutions. In addition to local radio, we're experts at web design and SEO, plus targetable advertising solutions like streaming TV, addressable geofencing, YouTube, Snapchat, Facebook, Spotify, search engine marketing, and so much more. That may sound like a lot of buzzwords, but really all that matters is we can deliver a relevant and ideal target audience to your business with data-informed decisions. No guessing, no waste, and you gain a trusted marketing partner with Town Square Media.
Take your business to the next level. Call our Director of Sales, Jim McLean, today at 609-910-5247.
Almost 3 million people use Navage to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage, the world's only nose cleaner that helps flush out airborne germs with powered suction. But what do doctors have to say about Navage? Here's Dr. Tonya Farmer, a board-certified ear, nose, and throat specialist.
Most airborne allergens and viruses enter through your nose. When that happens, it can cause congestion and irritation, and that just makes you feel miserable. You can get a cold, you can get flu, sinus infections, or even worse. Flushing your nose with a saline solution is the most effective way to flush all of those dangerous threats out of your nose. So now when patients come in my office, I tell them I highly recommend that you use Navage on a daily basis for overall good health and wellness.
And Navage is all natural and drug-free at Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage, Navage, clean nose, healthy life.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Dashboard light problems? We can help. Our free Fix Finder service can read your check engine light, ABS light, and service indicator light. and give you possible solutions verified by licensed technicians. You'll even get detailed results sent straight to your email so you have them when you need it most. It's the most complete free warning light report backed by technician verified fixes. The free Fix Finder service, only at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
More details at AutoZone.com.
Other banks go out of their way to make redeeming credit card rewards needlessly complicated, like how they require minimums or force you to use your rewards before reaching some arbitrary expiration date. But Discover isn't like that. With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time, so you'll never have to jump through hoops. Unless you're like a trapezist, then by all means, go right ahead. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
With GMF financing approved credit, excludes Corvette and prior sales.
Your car will never be worth more than right now at Bennett Chevrolet, because Bennett's paying a minimum $7,000 for any trade, running or not. That's a minimum $7,000 towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. And we have our best selection of super clean pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs in years. And remember, we're paying a minimum $7,000 for even the worst car on or even off the road. Just think how much more you'll get for a good quality trade. And unlike other dealers, Bennett's not selling new Chevys over factory sticker. Remarkable. Plus, at Bennett Chevy, there's 0% available financing. And we can get you out of your lease early. Any lease, any make, any model. And we'll buy your vehicle even if you don't buy one of ours. For a quick quote, just stop by. There's never any pressure or obligation because our non-commissioned sales staff is paid based on your satisfaction. Find new roads at Bennett Chevrolet, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
By the way, shout out to Steve and Kate May. You know, Steve, I may disagree with you in your take on the home run derby, but I respect the fact that Steve and Kate May didn't just come at me with 8 texts on the text board, but he left his name. So Steve and Kate May, I appreciate you texting into the show. I appreciate you putting your name on it, and I appreciate you not backing down from your take, even though we don't agree on it. We're going to switch over to hockey right now because, like I said before the break, I'm shocked that, you know, in a world where it seems like everyone's offseason lasts for about 3 months, the hockey free agency pretty much was 72 hours, and then guys like Chuck Fletcher came out and waved the white flag. So what do we take from what happened with the NHL? Because guess what? People are reporting for training camp, and it's almost like the NHL was like, let's get it done with for football comes back. Well, we'll ask Scott Laughlin from SiriusXM NHL Radio. He joins us now here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Scott, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Josh. Yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. So explain to us how on earth, in a world where the NBA has Kevin Durant and Kyrie news rumors every day, and the NFL extends their offseason by 3 months, hockey got things done in like 72 hours.
Yeah, they did, but, you know, still guys like myself are on the air every morning and afternoon talking about it because I still think there are some loose ends to tie up here, Josh. And, you know, number one is Nazem Kadri. Where is he going to end up? He's coming off his best NHL season. In a lot of ways here, we're just about a week into free agency, and the fact that he hasn't signed is somewhat baffling. The only thing I can think about, Josh, is the fact that there is a contending team out there that has said to him, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, sit still. We're going to get to you. We've got a deal or two that we have to make so we can get ourselves under the cap to be cap compliant. We want to free up the money to pay you. So that's where I'm thinking that Nazem Kadri and his camp are at right now. Wait and see, wait for said team to clear some cap space, and then he's going to sign for a lucrative contract. You've also got John Klingberg out there. You've got a veteran right-handed shot defenseman that can help some teams. PK Subban's out there at this stage of his career. What does he have left? What's his contract going to look like, and where can he go? Braden Holtby, Phil Kessel. So there's some names out there right now still, but you're right. The first day, 2 or 3, things really dried up quickly. That's always been my advice to the players and the representatives, Josh. Nobody seems to want to listen. Just get in while the getting's good, because after a day or two, that financial well starts to run really, really dry, And as such, every time we get to September, you've got some veteran guys that are kind of hanging on, veteran guys that end up going to training camps with the respective NHL team on PTOs, just trying to prolong their career. So take the best you can get in the first day or two, be happy with it, unless you're Nazem Kadri, in which case I think there's a team out there that's trying to move around some deck chairs.
Is there any chance Kadri does return to Colorado? Do you think that bridge is burned?
No, I think there is a chance. I wouldn't close the door on that at all, Josh. And, I tried to figure out a way that they could get it done. Now, Eric Johnson is going into the final year of his contract that pays him $6 million. Now, if they were to move that out, then I think that they would have more than enough financial wiggle room to get him back. That being said, I don't think the Avalanche and Joe Sakic operate that way. I think he's the longest-standing member of the Avalanche. He deserves the Stanley Cup championship. I think that Sakic is the type, with the new general manager, Chris McFarland, that operates with a whole lot of class. I think they're going to let him play out his contract in the final year, perhaps in the NHL, and that could be it for EJ. He's been such a warrior for them out there in Denver. I think that they want to see that through to the very end. What they could do, though, I think, Josh, is move out young defenseman Sammy Girard. They've got more than enough puck movers. Cale Makar obviously is going to have a grip on the Norris Trophy for quite some time to come. I know Adam Fox and others are going to have something to say about it, but this is going to be Cale Makar's Norris Trophy, I think, for the next couple of years. You had Bowen Byram really step up, and arguably he was the best Avalanche defenseman in the Stanley Cup final. I think the possibilities are endless for him now that he's healthy once again. So that gives them an embarrassment of riches on the back end, I think, in terms of puck-moving, mobile-type defensemen. If they move Sammy Girard out, that would free up another $5 million plus on their salary cap, and that might give them just enough room to get him back. We'll have to wait and see. I think where there's a will, there's a way, and if anybody's going to find a way to do it, it's Joe Sakic.
Now, let's get to this, Eric, because I mentioned Chuck Fletcher waving the white flag. Scott, there's a lot of angry Flyer fans. There's a lot of Flyer fans. I mean, they're ticked, man, because basically everything out there reporting-wise is Gaudreau waited for the Flyers to call him. The Flyers never called. Chuck Fletcher waved the white flag at 5 p.m. Eastern, and then Gaudreau goes and signs with the Blue Jackets on a number that was way less than Calgary could have given him. And there's a lot of Flyer fans who are looking at Chuck Fletcher and the Flyers organization saying, you had the chance to get the guy and you let him walk.
Josh, I don't understand it. I don't understand it, because if you were going to strip this right down and rebuild, which clearly they're not prepared to do, we heard months ago what Dave Scott had to say with Chuck Fletcher alongside. I think that, you've got to strip it down if you're going to go that route. They've elected not to go that route. So you're in it to win it, at least to get back to the playoffs. You bring in one of the all-time winningest coaches in league history, in John Tortorella, who at this point right now with this roster might have to kind of suck blood from a stone a little bit to get the most out of it. And there's a whole lot hinging, no doubt, on the health or lack thereof for Ryan Ellis on the back end and Kevin Hayes up front and Sean Couturier up front. There's going to have to be a lot that happens right in terms of full health for the Flyers to be in a playoff conversation coming up next season. But the way I see it, you had an opportunity here, and the speculation had suggested that Philadelphia was trying to move the JVR contract onto a team like Arizona that in the past has shown a propensity to be more than willing to take on some salary. So in order to move that contract out, word on the street was that they'd have to add some sweetener to Bill Armstrong to get him to take the deal. Okay, so the sweetener reportedly was going to be a first-round pick. Now, they've got their first-rounder coming up the next couple of years. They didn't want to part with the first-rounder, apparently, which I don't understand. I mean, if you had to move the JVR contract out to Arizona, you would have had to have given up the first-round pick. Okay, so that's well and good. The reality is you have suggested you're not really stripping it down. You're not willing to build through the draft and build it back up again. So to me, why hold on to the first rounder? Like if you had to move the first rounder to Arizona to free up the JVR contract to deal it off to them, to open up the salary cap space, to give Johnny Gaudreau what he would be looking for, what would be a fair offer for him, I don't understand why they didn't do it, Josh. Like I would have moved the first rounder out for next year. I know it's a real good draft, especially in the top three. But the reality to me suggests that I would have moved it out. The JVR contract would have been in the desert. That would have given them enough wherewithal financially, I think, to really give Johnny Gaudreau an offer between $9 and $10 million. let's face it, he probably would have taken a little bit less even to play in Philadelphia, more than willing to come home and play for the Flyers. So I don't understand it. I think it's a missed opportunity. I think that deep down the Gaudreau camp felt like even the Devils and the Islanders and possibly even the Rangers were going to come more aggressively after him. When it became clear the Flyers were just not going to be a player, I think he just decided, you know what, Columbus is probably the best offer I'm going to get. I know it's 500 miles from home, but $9.75 million per is not half bad.
Yeah, and you have an organization that trade all those draft picks for Ristolainen, trade all those draft picks for D'Angelo, and it's like you can't trade one more pick to get the cap space. And remember, this was an organization that says we are going to go into an aggressive retool. That was their words, and it's like, and you just didn't get aggressive enough.
No, I don't get it. I don't get it, Josh. And you had a guy who was a Hart Trophy candidate. Now, 40 goals on 115 points. Is that probably as good as it's going to get for Johnny Gaudreau? Probably. But that's pretty darn good. You've got one of the top players in the game. You can speak to it better than I can. I think he would have revitalized the market, re-energized the market, and the passion back towards the Flyers once again. I just think it's a missed opportunity. I don't understand why apparently they didn't want to give up that first-round pick to peddle that JVR contract off to the Coyotes. I would have done it in a heartbeat. That would have given them the money to give him $9 to $10 million per to bring him back home, and the Flyers would be much better off. I mean, right now, Columbus, I'm not saying they're a playoff team next season, but they're a lot better than they were going back a week ago.
And the Flyers, you just mentioned Columbus. I mean, in an Eastern Conference where Ottawa definitely got better this offseason, Columbus definitely is better. We know that Boston is going to try to recharge out there. We know the Rangers, they're still there. I believe that the Devils are even going to be better with Palat out there up in New Jersey. And it's like the Flyers, they bring in Tortorella, and they're not giving him all the tools necessary to win.
If John Tortorella gets his Flyers team into the playoffs next season, I think he's probably going to win the Jack Adams. I think that's where it's kind of at right now. And I've already alluded to some of the question marks health-wise for this team.
Yeah.
Those guys that I mentioned have to be healthy, and they have to be productive. This is a paper-thin roster as compared to what it once was. And I think a lot has to go right for this team to be in the mix in the Eastern Conference in the Metropolitan Division, Josh. I really do believe that. And again, John Tortorella is a great head coach, and he's got a way of pressing buttons, and certainly he's going to rub some people the wrong way, and some people won't be able to play for him. But the reality is that I think he's going to get the most that he can out of this roster. I just don't know whether this roster is deep enough to keep them really deep into contention.
Scott Laughlin, SiriusXM NHL Radio, joining us right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See how you can follow Scott on Twitter at Laughlin SXM. Scott, all the numbers showed this year that with the move over to Turner and ESPN, that the NHL finally got some boom in attention and viewership. And on the flip side, the Flyers had their worst attendance since the 1980s. So while the sport seems to be ascending, it seems the Flyers have pretty much missed the boat here.
Yeah, it is interesting how that's worked out because, as we know, Flyers fans have been steadfast in their support for the franchise pretty much from the get-go. And, coming off the second worst season in franchise history, you can understand why there's a bit of apathy perhaps towards the organization, towards the franchise right now. And that's where, getting back to Johnny Hockey would have been that much more impressive. I think that on the ice and off of it, it would have given the Flyers a real much-needed shot in the arm. They would have been a better team on the ice. I think they would have sold a few more tickets, no doubt, to put some more butts in the seats there. And I just don't understand it. It's a missed opportunity. The bottom line is, look, I mean, at some point fans want to see that there's a plan in place. Whether that plan is for now or whether that plan is for later, you want to see that the right moves are being made. And right now there are certain question marks, I think, with this roster in terms of what direction they're going in. And again, in their defense, we still have another 2 months here before we can, talk about teams ending up at training camp and finding out what things really look like. But, right now, I think there's been a missed opportunity or two along the way. And you're right. We talk about these teams in the Eastern Conference, and most of them have improved themselves, I think. You look at the Atlantic Division, you look at the Ottawa Senators, and they're coming up in leaps and bounds. They still have to go out and try to pick up a veteran defenseman that can play top four type minutes. But beyond that, Ottawa's kind of won in the Eastern Conference the offseason so far. So even teams like the Senators and the Red Wings and the Sabres in the Atlantic Division are going to be much more competitive than they have been, perhaps even pushing up on the playoffs. The Rangers certainly aren't going away. Pittsburgh kept the band together somehow, some way. Washington, of course, always a bit of a wild card at this stage with some of the players getting a little bit longer in the tooth. You've got the New York Islanders, no doubt, who are going to have a bounce back under Lane Lambert, I think. And, it's really, really competitive. And it's really, I think, a perspective here that's being offered up that you have to kind of keep up with the Joneses. And right now, I just don't see that Philadelphia has done that much here during the offseason to improve their lots.
One of my personally most fascinating non-Philadelphia Flyers offseason story for the free agency was the goaltender situations in Edmonton and Toronto, all the shuffling that went on there. Now the dust is settled. How do you grade? How do you handicap the goalie situations in those two cities?
I like Edmonton's goaltending. I don't like Toronto's goaltending right now. It's very much, to me, Josh, too much risk reward. Is there a chance that Matt Murray gets back to where he was 5 years ago? 5 years ago in Pittsburgh? Yeah, I guess there's a chance. He's coming home to Ontario, where he grew up a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, and maybe that gets him back on the beam. He's just been hurt way too much the last couple of seasons, and for the Leafs to take on nearly $4.7 million per, even for the next 2 years, to me was way too much of a gamble for the Leafs to take at this stage of the game. I think you bring in Ilya Samsonov, and I know he was a first-round pick years ago, but he has really struggled with consistency. So for him at 1 year at 1.8, maybe it makes sense financially. You didn't have to break the bank for him. But again, just too many question marks with regards to consistency. And I think if you're a team like the Leafs and you're an organization like the Leafs, and you know that you've basically got at least another year of Austin Matthews, and then the questions will start to be asked as to whether or not he's going to want to stick around Toronto. If the team cannot escape the first round of the playoffs, is there an opportunity for him to test the market in a couple of years' time? I think that they have to have success. That's what makes next season that much more important for the blue and white. And right now, I don't see at all that they're a better team than the one that lost out in the playoffs yet again in the first round, this time to the Eastern Conference champion Tampa Bay Lightning. So I think Toronto has taken a step back. I think Edmonton has actually taken another step forward because they've got the consistency, I think, from Jack Campbell to look forward to. I think he's more of a guaranteed thing than certainly Mike Smith was, than Mikko Koskinen was. I think I like Edmonton with what they added up front and bringing back Evander Kane, who seemed to fit like a glove with that team. I know they're going to move out Puljujärvi. Maybe Tyson Berry, the veteran defenseman, gets moved before the season starts as well. But I really like what the Edmonton Oilers have put together here. And, while Calgary, their Alberta brethren, their biggest rivals of all, have kind of taken a step back, a huge step potentially back, losing out on Johnny Hockey and maybe even Matthew Tkachuk. I think the Edmonton Oilers right now appear to be a better team.
So with Edmonton adding Campbell, but Colorado losing Kemper, where does that put Edmonton in the Western Conference hierarchy? Because Edmonton had that amazing run to the conference finals, but they lost to the eventual Cup champs.
I still like Colorado. I still like Colorado until proven otherwise. I think Josh Georgiev is the type of goaltender that was on the cusp. And then came Shesterkin. His countryman, of course, comes over, and we know how that's turned out. And now Georgiev can't find starts. I think Georgiev, at the age of 26, is ready to break out. I think he can be a number one goaltender. I think with every goaltender, you want to play 3 out of 4. You don't want to be sitting for 3 out of 4. It's a much different perspective that you got on the game in terms of knowing that you're going to play as much as Georgiev is going to play. Francouz is a good 1A, maybe a number 2. But I think Georgiev at 3 times 3.4 was a real astute pickup by Joe Sakic and Chris McFarland. So I think that goaltending-wise, they're going to be just fine. They'll be as good or better, I think, than what they had with Darcy Kemper going back to last season, in particular in the playoffs with what he delivered, which was just over 900 in terms of a save percentage. They've lost Burakovsky up front. Like I said, look for Sammy Girard perhaps to be a defenseman that they could move out at some point, maybe even, as we suggested, to find some wiggle room to bring Nazem Kadri back. They brought back as well Big Val Nichushkin on that contract that he got at 8 years and $49 million. And he really blossomed this past season. Role players like Helman Cogliano are back in the fold, looking to win another Stanley Cup too. So this is an Avalanche team, and let's face it, all eyes will be on Nathan MacKinnon here in the next couple of months as well, because they can extend him, and they were working off that team-friendly contract year after year after year. MacKinnon was one of the most highly underpaid players in the league, a very team-friendly deal off the top of my head that paid him like $6.3 million per season. He is going to hit the jackpot. I don't know if he's going to double his salary, Josh, but I think he's going to be coming pretty darn close to doing that. And I think that certainly has to be taken into consideration as far as the Avalanche and their cap goes for future seasons to come. But he's earned it. Nathan MacKinnon, one Stanley Cup, and perhaps more to come.
He's Scott Laughlin, SiriusXM NHL Radio. Follow him on Twitter at Laughlin SXM. You can catch him on the morning show on SiriusXM NHL Radio. As the NHL offseason still, as he mentioned, some things to figure out, but after so much happened in 72 hours, it feels like hockey found a way to get out of the way for when the NFL starts reporting the training camp next week, Scott.
Yeah. I go through withdrawal, though. I was saying earlier today, Josh, I'm so used to a routine, day in, day out. There are shows I listen to. There are TV shows that I watch. All of a sudden they go away. And I'm just like lost in the forest at this point. I got to find something to focus on, but we'll do that coming up tomorrow morning.
Well, if you need some Netflix or Hulu recommendations, let me know. Okay.
All right. We'll look forward to that.
Scott, take care.
All right. Thanks, Josh.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. We'll check in with you guys. Have to say on the other side. Text board is open, 609-403-0973. And you can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City.
The best way to wake up is with Keyshawn, Jay, Will, and Max. Weekday mornings at 6 on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
The city, Atlantic City. It's a fine place to enjoy life until somebody breaks the law. That's where we come in. We promote Springfield Mitsubishi Atlantic City, because they know it's a crime to pay more than a dime. Every vehicle, one dime down. Even if you have credit problems. We checked out the competition. Sir, how much do we need for a down payment?
Well, 2,000 down should do it.
Book 'em.
Wait, what are you doing?
Every vehicle should be one dime down.
But that's only at Springfield Mitsubishi Atlantic City. And they got that credit amnesty.
If you bring home $350 a week, you could get up to $25,000 in credit. $25,000 with only one dime down.
Even the new Outlander with third row seating?
Yes, sir. The all-new Springfield Mitsubishi Atlantic City in Pleasantville. They service all makes and models. Springfield Mitsubishi AC.com. Springfield Mitsubishi AC.com. New 22 Mirage 16 Ford, dime down, $249 a month for 72 months at 3% APR plus tax tag title to qualified buyers.
Okay, import footage. How is the hard drive already full?
Jawan's Pilates studio converted to entirely virtual classes. But leading and editing sessions is stretching her too thin.
It says render failed. What'd I do?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Earn up to $500 in sponsored job credits by conducting interviews on Indeed. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Almost 3 million people use Navage to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage, the world's only nose cleaner that helps flush out airborne germs with powered suction. But what do doctors have to say about Navage? Here's Dr. Tonya Farmer, a board-certified ear, nose, and throat specialist.
Most airborne allergens and viruses enter through your nose. When that happens, it can cause congestion and irritation, and that just makes you feel miserable. You can get a cold, you can get flu, sinus infections, or even worse. Flushing your nose with a saline solution is the most effective way to flush all of those dangerous threats out of your nose. So now when patients come in my office, I tell them I highly recommend that you use Navage on a daily basis for overall good health and wellness.
And Navage is all natural and drug-free at Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage, Navage, clean nose, healthy life.
O'Reilly.
Trust the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to recommend the best products for your car. Like 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil, just $32.95. Extend the life of your vehicle, improve performance, and protect your engine against sludge and wear with Mobil 1 full synthetic. On sale now at O'Reilly Auto Parts and O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours.
Spilled your milkshake? Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker. And each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading Ordinary brand. So you can get back to your milkshake.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
You have the choice, whether it's going out to dinner or ordering takeout at a local restaurant or buying that new outfit from a local boutique. Those choices help to put money back into your community. And Town Square Media South Jersey puts a spotlight on local businesses. Made Anew Home Remodeling. Make your dreams a reality. MadeAnewHomeRemodeling.com. Dr. Lyle M. Back. For everything skincare to cosmetic surgery, go to ilovelyle.back.com. Comfort Now by Bob McAllister. Improve the comfort in your home. Call 609-400-1005 and ask about discounts, rebates, and incentives. Online, iwantcomfortnow.com. Maurice Piers. For tickets and passes, visit mauricepiers.com. East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows serves all of South Jersey. If you call, they'll show up. Call East Coast today at 609-646-1444. Online at eastcoastroofing.com. Thank you for supporting your local businesses from Town Square Media, South Jersey.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Game Night being brought to you by American Airlines, the Atlantic City International Airport, ACY. Now is your one-stop ticket to over 90 domestic international destinations. Book your next trip today at AA.com. By the way, this will be the final game night for the month of July. So, just to let everybody know, Mike Gill is going on vacation. And I will be covering the Sports Bash from 2 to 6, starting tomorrow through the end of the month. And we typically will have best ofs of the Sports Bash during the 6 o'clock hour. So, I like to give you guys the opportunity, if you missed any of the Sports Bash and you didn't catch the podcast on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, you do get the best of hour from 6 to 7 p.m., just to fill the hour. And of course, Billy Schweim will have his lifeguard racing competitions on July 29th and August 5th, I believe, is the 2 dates. Yes. So, no game night. This will be the last one the rest of the month, but I'll still be on the air each day from 2 to 6, just keeping the microphone covered for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN FM. Couple things before we get out of here. This is the week that sports is like in this weird in-between phase where, the NBA Summer League is coming to an end and the NHL doesn't really have much of anything going on. I mean, you heard Scott Laughlin say Nazem Kadri is still out there looking to sign with somebody, but who knows when that deal will finally get done. Baseball's going to have a couple days off because of their All-Star break. Phillies aren't going to come back to action until Friday, for goodness sake. And then you have the NFL slowly reporting the training camp. So, we're going to try to have some fun next couple of weeks, different things. But I'll tell you guys right now, I think one of the conversation points that I am, shall I call it, stuck on is you look at what's going on with college football right now. And as I mentioned earlier, when you go through the list of the most watched television broadcasts of 2022 before the start of this week, the majority of it is either NFL or college football related. But the way college football has stayed in the national conversation, it's not good. This fiasco with teams changing conferences and all that stuff I think might do more harm to college football long term, and short term will confuse people and not to find a way to get people back. Look, I'm not the guy who tries to go out there and be negative for hot takes or get attention, but for the state of football to be where it's at, where the NFL is at an all-time high in attention, and college football is more famous for NIL for the athletes and for schools changing conferences and coaches feuding with each other at press conferences, it's really gotten to a point where you kind of have to look at college football and say, hopefully you guys can figure this out, because if you get to a point where nobody knows what's going on, they're going to lose interest. I tell people all the time, sports is less about the diehard than it is the casual fan, okay? I was having a conversation earlier today about some of the football schedules with Mike Gill, and he was pointing out that some of the national radio games this year are involving Tennessee. And part of the problem is that, Tennessee regionally in that SEC part of the country, Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, Kentucky, Louisiana, Florida. Tennessee's a big deal. It's a big deal in form of rivalries, a big deal in part of their history of their schools, but the rest of the country doesn't care about Tennessee. And college football has always been a sport that has tried to have a balancing act between the regional passion and the just insane love of these teams and these games in those regions, and then the national appeal of those games beyond just the regional interest. And you go nationally, and I saw the story earlier today, at the Westgate Sportsbook in Las Vegas, their biggest bets that they've taken is on USC ever since Lincoln Riley became their head coach. USC is a national brand. The most national championship bets at DraftKings Sportsbook has been Alabama. So as long as Alabama doesn't win the national championship, DraftKings doesn't lose money. As long as USC doesn't win the national championship, Westgate doesn't lose money. And this is where really the rubber is for the casual fan. There's really only two things that bring in the casual football fan. It's they have money invested in it, whether it's fantasy football, whether it's a year-long fantasy league, whether it's daily fantasy play, whether it's sports betting. That's one thing that brings you in. The other thing that brings you in is name recognition. It's, you know who Alabama is, you know who Notre Dame is, you know who USC is. And the third thing that usually brings you in is if you have an affiliation, that's my alma mater. My alma mater was in that conference. Maybe somebody who's, went to that school, things like that. So for college sports, and the numbers have shown this, a regular season college football game, a regular season college basketball game doesn't have the attention that the postseason does, whereas the regular season NFL has way more attention. So for college football to have all this movement just for the sake of making money. Look, the reason why USC and UCLA are moving to the Big Ten conference in a couple of years is because, one, the Big Ten wants the LA market to try to expand their footprint across the country in terms of media markets because of their Big Ten network. And two, they're in a position to negotiate for more money in their next TV contract. But all that money is not worth anything if the fans turn on television and they see that there's a game between UCLA and Minnesota. Unless you are an alumni of one of those schools, unless you know somebody who goes to one of those schools, or you have money on the game, you don't care about UCLA, Minnesota. No matter how much Fox or ESPN or whatever network is putting the game on the television, wants you to be invested in the game. So how does college football stay relevant in the world where there's so much change and the casual, the intermediate fan is more important than the diehard fan? They're going to have to work overtime because people like me are going to watch no matter what. People like me want to see Ole Miss versus Arkansas. People like me want to see Florida versus Florida State. People like me, we want to see these games because we're diehard sports fans and we love college football. But for the rest of you out there, the casual fan, why should you watch a baseball game? Why should you watch a college football game? The NFL has the market cornered. They have found that less is more is a huge part of their formula. They have cornered the market on making sure the casual fan cares. Look, the 36.9 rating for the Super Bowl just a few months ago on NBC, they had almost 100 million viewers watching that game across all the measurable metrics in terms of, the analytics and the viewership numbers. But aside from the NFL, there's not a lot of appointment viewing when it comes to sports. And these sports have to realize that they're going to keep making money off of television. If they're going to keep asking for billions of dollars from these television outlets, and they're not the NFL, they got to give you a reason to watch. Listen, folks, more people were interested in UNC versus Duke in the Final Four than were interested in the Kentucky Derby. Just putting it out there. It tells you what marketing does, what give me a reason to watch, how much that matters in terms of people's attention to your sport. Coming up next on 97.3 ESPN FM, the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. I'll be back on tomorrow filling in for Mike Gill at 2 p.m. here on 97.3 ESPN.
This summer.
0-2 on the way. Swinging a high fly. This is blasted out to deep right center field. Forget about it. Bryce Harper.
We plan on giving South Jersey something cool, because it's going to be a hot one.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Elevated the heater at 96 to get out of the inning. Heck of a job by Zach Wheeler.
Your official station for Summer at the Shore. 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours.
Spilled your milkshake? Quick, the quicker picker upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker. And each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading ordinary brand. So you can get back to your milkshake.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours.
Bounty, the quicker picker upper.